Hi everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving into a common PHP warning that many developers encounter, especially when upgrading their PHP versions or working with older code bases. The deprecated, creation of dynamic property is deprecated message. It can be a bit confusing at first, but understanding it is crucial for writing clean, modern, and future-proof PHP applications. This warning signals that a particular way of handling object properties is no longer recommended and will eventually lead to errors in future PHP versions. So, let's break down what it means, why it's happening, and most importantly, how to fix it. First, let's understand what a dynamic property is. In PHP, a dynamic property is essentially a property that you add to an object after the object has been created, without explicitly declaring it within the class definition. Imagine you have a class called user with properties like name and email. If you then try to do $user-age equals 30, and age was never declared in the user class, that's a dynamic property. PHP used to allow this without a peep, offering a lot of flexibility, but that flexibility came with a cost. Next, why is this happening and why is it deprecated? PHP is evolving towards stricter typing and more predictable code. Dynamic properties, while convenient sometimes, can hide typos, make code harder to read, and lead to unexpected behavior. For example, if you accidentally type $user-email equals test@example.com instead of $user-email, PHP would silently create a new dynamic property email instead of telling you about the typo. This makes debugging a nightmare. By deprecating dynamic properties, PHP is pushing developers towards more robust and explicit class definitions, which ultimately leads to more maintainable and less error-prone code. This warning specifically becomes a full-blown error in PHP 9.0, so it's vital to address it now. So, how do we fix this warning? There are a few primary ways to address the creation of dynamic property is deprecated warning, and the best approach depends on your specific use case. The most common and recommended solution is to 1. Declare all properties within your class definition. This is the simplest and best practice. If you intend for an object to have a property, explicitly define it with a visibility keyword like public, protected, or private. For our user example, you would add public $age inside the user class. This makes your class structure clear and prevents accidental property creation. 2. Use the __set magic method for intentional dynamic-like behavior. If you genuinely need a way to handle properties that aren't explicitly declared, perhaps for a data storage class or a specific pattern, you can implement the __set magic method in your class. This method is called whenever you attempt to write to an inaccessible or non-existent property. You can then define custom logic for how these dynamic properties should be handled, perhaps storing them in an internal array. However, use this sparingly and only when truly necessary, as it adds complexity. 3. Use stdClass or associative arrays for generic data bags. If you're simply using an object as a generic container for ad hoc data without needing specific class methods or strict type checking, an stdClass object or even a simple associative array might be a more appropriate choice. stdClass is designed for this kind of flexible data storage and won't trigger the dynamic property warning. 4. Avoid creating properties on objects that aren't designed for them. Sometimes, the warning appears because you're trying to attach data to an object that shouldn't own it. Reevaluate your object design and see if the data belongs elsewhere. In summary, the deprecated creation of dynamic property is deprecated warning is PHP's way of guiding us towards better, more explicit coding practices. By declaring your properties, using __set thoughtfully, or choosing stdClass when appropriate, you can eliminate these warnings and ensure your code is ready for future PHP versions. It makes your code clearer, safer, and easier to maintain for everyone involved. Thank you so much for watching and learning about this important PHP warning. If you found this explanation helpful, please give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment below with your thoughts or any questions, and don't forget to subscribe for more useful programming tips and tutorials. We appreciate your support.